Hello and welcome to News Central Television. I am Likon Obanjo. The top stories at this hour. 12 reportedly killed as female suicide bomber detonates IED at a food joint in Borno State. Dangote refinery hikes petrol ex-depot price to 880 naira per litre. President Trump gives Tehran 2 weeks ultimatum to avoid U.S. strikes. Details to come your way shortly. We begin with security matters. At least 12 people have been reportedly killed and 17 others injured after a female suicide bomber attacked a local food joint in the Konduga local government area of Borno State. It was gathered that the incident occurred at about 10 p.m. on Friday, leaving several others severely injured. Police sources said the attacker detonated the IED at the food joint. The bodies of the deceased have been deposited in a morgue, while the injured victims were taken to a nearby hospital where they are receiving treatment. A joint security team comprising military and police officers, civilian joint task force, and local hunters has reportedly visited the scene of the bombing. Still talking security, the Kebbi State Government has confirmed the loss of 30 lives in the recent banditry attacks on the Zulu communities. Chairman of Zulu and Danko Wasugu local government areas, Mohammed Gajere and Husseini Bena, reported that 16 people were killed in Konduga, while 14 others lost their lives in Kibu and Yakuka in the Waje district. While speaking during a visit by the Deputy Governor Umar Tafida to Konduga on Friday, Gajere and Bena also said several others were injured. The attackers also made away with livestock and other valuables. Tafida conveyed the government's sympathy during the visits. And now to politics. The Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, has dismissed the formation of a new opposition party, the All Democratic Alliance, calling it a pedestrian joke. In a post on X on Friday, Keyamo said the move was a weak attempt to mimic the 2013 coalition that formed the ruling APC. The proposed alliance includes major political figures such as the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and ex-governors Nasir El-Rufai and Rotimi Amici. The group applied for registration with INEC on Thursday, which was acknowledged on Friday. But Keyamo downplayed the initiative as overhyped, saying it lacks backing from existing parties and amounts to a disappointing anticlimax ahead of the 2027 elections. To discuss this, we are joined by a political analyst, Henry Olonimoyo. Thank you so much, Mr. Olonimoyo, for joining us on the news.
Thank you for
can you please unmute your device?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, we can hear you now. Thank you so much for joining us. So let's start this way. Do you think that the new All Democratic Alliance Party is a political fluke?
Now, it's been brewing for a while that there has been talks of coalition. We've seen the northern groups talk about the coalition. And I, for one, had said that until we start getting information like application to register a political party, then that coalition is not yet serious yet. But I guess now they have decided that they want to set up a political party rather than subsuming into an existing one. And this new development, I do not want to call it a fluke yet until we see one who is part of the coalition. Again, as you rightly know, if it's something that is big, it doesn't have to start in a noisy manner. Right now, we have the names, just few names that are associated with the coalition, and it's expected to build momentum. And the kind of momentum it builds in the coming months will determine how far it will go. But again, if you now hear that a sitting minister is commenting about it, that shows already that it's one to watch out for. Coalition. the party, the new party.
Well, this party has been described as not really a coalition or not sort of a merger, so to speak. But then one would wonder, what do you think the party's X factor is? Whether or not we have a top political personality championing this particular new party?
Yes. So, as it stands, it's not completely new. If people in the APC say, oh, there's nothing special about this party, cannot do anything, if you look at the build of the last election, 2023 election, Adams Oshomole was reported as saying that the obedient movement is about 2 or 3 people tweeting in a room. But the result of the election showed that it was more than 2 or 3 persons. We're talking of 6 million plus votes, and that's a lot. So I expect that the party in power will play it down, but I believe very strongly that if this coalition and this party scales through, because of course the law says it has to be applied, it has to apply to register at least 1 year before the election, and they are still well on time. If they scale through the whole process and it gets registered, and then they are able to attract the right personalities, it's only a matter of time. They can get the right support they need. I'm not one that is disturbed by the defections happening. I mean, politicians defecting to APC. I feel very strongly the most important thing as far as election is concerned today in Nigeria is the people's votes. And just because politicians have cascaded towards a party doesn't necessarily mean that they have the votes in the bag. What really matters is if this coalition goes ahead with what it's doing and it begins to attract the right persons they should attract and the popular names on the streets, then APC could be with you. This is a very serious fight for the 2027 election.
So do you think there's any difference or similarity in the merger that actually coalesced into forming the APC in 2013 and the ADA?
So, yes, so I believe there's a slight difference. There's a difference in the sense that if you look at the way the APC came about, it was largely defection of governors, defection of senators, a part of the CPC itself, a part of PDP, and like that, an APGA. But this one's going to be a very different one because it appears that the people in power have shown their cards that they are going towards the APC. So this one makes it much more different. It means that this new party is not going to be one that will likely welcome defections from people who are already in government. It appears likely that it will be more of people who are outside government. And if you look at the coalition talks, most of the people that have been mentioned, they are not in government. That's what I feel the difference is. And I tell you right now, if they are able to marshal their case, get the right persons, they can win the hearts of the people. And that name, ADA, is a very smart one. What it means is that if it gets registered, it might be the first name on the ballot. Maybe after Action Alliance, it might be at least ahead of the APC on the ballot paper.
Okay, so now the major opposition parties, as we've seen, have shown symptoms of infiltration and implosion the last couple of years. But then, with the spearheads seeking validation, will it be any different now with the ADA?
So for me, that we're seeing this attempt to register a new party, it also shows the current state or status of the other parties, political parties that are on ground. Because as it stands today, at least we have had the crisis in the Labour Party, PDP, the crisis in the PDP, and it is beginning to look like the major parties that did well in the last election are not going, even NNPP. And that means that now this coalition have been forced to go and register a new party. It says a lot about the political tone and undercurrent, or political atmosphere under which parties are operating. We have seen Mr. President say gleefully on the June 12th address that is happy with their disarray and the rest. And so it makes a lot of sense to register this new party. And I believe very strongly, if they are the ones registering and they are in charge of the governance of the party from the scratch, I do not believe that there can be that kind of infiltration. But mind you, we can't rule out the possibility of infiltration at any time. would have some people who will come in and will want to come and play the asset job. But I also believe that some of these names that I mentioned in this party are seasoned veterans in politics. And I think if they cannot marshal a party between now and 2027 to do well, then that means that they are probably not ready to wrestle power from the APC.
So I'm just looking at this from another angle. What if this is another party being formed to subtly or unknowingly decimate the votes in favor of the ruling party, as it was being said about the NNPP and LP, that is the Labour Party, in the 2023 elections?
Yes. So for me, I also feel that one of the major factors for this coalition to be successful is the person of Mr. Peter Obi. Nobody can deny his popularity. Nobody can deny the pull and attraction he has with young Nigerians. And any coalition that is going to do well in the forthcoming election has to have his name somewhere on their ballot. They cannot do without it. And if this coalition of this new party, if it finds a way to bring him on board, then APC is going to be facing a serious fight. But if they go out with a coalition that doesn't have Mr. Peter Obi's name on the ballot at this time, it will be a very serious mistake, and nothing much will go to happen from it. And that's why I feel very strongly with the names I'm hearing that have been aligned with the party now. If Mr. Peter Obi comes on board for this coalition, then APC is really up for a serious fight. If you also observe the people who are the obedient movement who are calling the shots for Mr. Peter Obi's campaign, if you realize that they have been a little quiet in the last few days about the party. They are more about the movement, obedient movement. They're not talking of the party again. Could this mean that there are plans for Mr. Peter Obi to link up with this party that is about to be registered? I think it remains to be seen for us in the coming months.
They usually say that the numbers are in the north. So if what you're saying basically is if Peter Obi is not successfully wooed into this sort of coalition or merger, whatever it is that is called, the north might not really have that say in the coming 2027 elections. Yes. You see, the truth is this. Nobody can become the president of Nigeria without a coalition between the north and south. No matter what you say, the numbers you have in the north alone cannot elect a president as far as Nigeria's constitution is concerned. And so clearly, you already have a lot of elements from the north pushing for this coalition. And I think all they need is to have serious shake and partnership with the south. And I'm already hearing names like, and so if they're able to secure a major factor in Southeast politics today, somebody who got 90%, close to 90% of the votes in the Southeast, I think it makes a lot of sense to get him on board. That's Mr. Peter Obi. He also did very well in the Middle Belt also, which is still part of the North. So it makes a lot of sense. If they get him in, then they have serious numbers that can really give APC a run for their money in the coming election. All right, thank you so much, Henry Olonimoyo, for sharing your thoughts with us. Thank you. You're welcome. So we're going to break right now on the news. When we return, Nigeria Customs Service warns against fake job auction scams on social media. We'll bring you more details in a short while. Do join us again. Many thanks for staying with us. Now, as Nigeria inches closer to the 2027 general elections, young Nigerians across the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory have called for urgent and impactful reforms in the nation's electoral process. The youths under the aegis of the Youth Electoral Reform Project, a non-partisan youth-led reform group, are also calling on their peers to actively engage in initiatives aimed at improving Nigeria's electoral process. Idong Joseph tells us more in this report.
From delays in result transmission to voter suppression, the 2023 general elections left many Nigerian youth disillusioned. Now, with the 2027 polls fast approaching, youth groups say electoral reforms must not be delayed.
A 2024 countrywide survey by the YEP Nigeria campaign showed that Nigerian youth were dissatisfied with the process of the 2023 general elections, largely due to challenges including voter suppression and failure of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) to transmit presidential election results in real time.
With youth constituting about 40% of Nigeria's over 93 million registered voters, these groups are demanding a seat on the table, especially in the ongoing constitutional and electoral review processes. Among their key demands is compulsory electronic transmission of results, continuous voter registration, and transferring the power to appoint the INEC chairman and commissioners from the president to a non-partisan committee.
It is very important that Nigerians are given the opportunity to also make input on who should lead the electoral body that we have, which is INEC.
If beavers can actually transmit scanned copy, then it is also easy to use the same for collation, or even not the same, improve on the system. These are just options.
The conclusion of all post-election petitions before inauguration to ensure fairness and protect the democratic integrity.
They also advocate for the establishment of an electoral offences commission to ensure accountability and deter electoral malpractice.
Establishment of an electoral offence commission to investigate and diligently prosecute electoral crimes independently.
With youth currently dissatisfied with the electoral system, some here say voter apathy may worsen by 2027 when compared to 2023 if nothing is done. In Abuja for News Central, Idong Joseph.
In a related development, a coalition of women in Rivers State under the banner Rivers Women Unite for SIM has raised alarm over what they describe as the federal government abandonment of the state, allowing it to drift under what they call emergency rule. The group says the last 3 months of political crisis have brought unprecedented setbacks to the people, with governance grinding to a halt. While acknowledging the political disagreements triggered by the crisis, they are appealing to Presidents Bola Tinubu and the Federal Capital Territory Minister Nyesom Wike to rise above rivalry and put the interest of Rivers people first. In a communique, the women called on suspended Governor Siminalayi Fubara and Wike, along with their political camps, to embrace dialogue and reconciliation as brothers for the sake of peace and progress. The group, known for backing Fubara, has been vocal in demanding a return to democratic governance. With the unpass now 3 months old as of June 18, they are urging all Rivers residents, regardless of political leaning, to unite for peace and resist efforts to turn the state into a battleground for selfish ambitions. Pro-transparency advocates have called for an end to political interference on the administration of local governments across the country by state governments. This was as they converged on the nation's capital, Abuja, to x-ray challenges hindering local governments from performing efficiently and achieving their core objectives and responsibilities, which include the provision of the dividends of democracy to citizens at the grassroots. The Central's correspondent, Aishat Salihu, has the details in this report.
Nigeria's governance system comprised of federal, state and local government cannot function effectively as long as the local government supposed to be closer to the people continues to experience gaps, challenges and is unable to function effectively. To avoid this, stakeholders are campaigning for autonomous, functional and corruption-free local governments, not just as a constitutional requirement, but a developmental imperative aimed at restoring trust, service delivery and democracy to citizens at the grassroots level.
The reality today is that financial autonomy alone has not translated into effective governance or independence at local level. The root problems is far more thematic, involving deep-seated political interference, weak institutional structures, poor accountability mechanism, and pervasive corruption that we all see in the local government's operations.
However, There are concerns about existing structural and operational constraints due to the prevailing influence of the executive and legislative arms of government at the state level.
We have observed instances where funds have been misused under the guise of preparing for local government elections. In one of such cases, substantial huge sums were illicitly moved, raising serious concern about transparency and accountability.
Nigerians at the grassroots are being tasked to effectively hold their leaders accountable by demanding for more transparency and accountability.
It's high time we activated the office of the citizen. When I tell you that it is supported everywhere, where? In the 3rd chapter to the Constitution of the Republic of Nigeria, where the Constitution expects you to avoid being docile, to participate in the governance of your local area. If you have engineering skills, why not? You go to a local government road that has been constructed with an X amount of money, and you discover that the strength of the materials used there is not in tandem with the money spent. You can blow whistle.
Stakeholders say the Supreme Court's decision regarding local government autonomy represents a significant step towards achieving good governance within local government councils, but admit the situation requires a deliberate effort from all parties to ensure that the Apex Court's decision is strictly respected, enforced, and implemented. In Abuja, for News Central, Aishat Salihu.
Away from that, the Inspector General of Police, Yahuza Getso, has issued a strong warning against rising cases of name-calling and social media protests over the ongoing ward delineation exercise in Bori Federal Constituency by the Independent National Electoral Commission. The warning was delivered by the Assistant Inspector General of Police, Zone 5, Salman Dogo Garba, during a high-level security meeting with stakeholders from Bori and surrounding communities. The meeting, held at the Zone 5 headquarters in Benin City, Edo State, brought together top security and community leaders. AIG Garba made it clear that any further breach of public peace will not be tolerated, warning that anyone found instigating unrest will be arrested and prosecuted in accordance with the law. To the energy sector now, Dangote Petroleum Refinery has raised its ex-depot price for premium motor spirit, also known as petrol, to 880 naira per litre. The hike represents a 55 naira increase from the previous rate of 825 naira per litre. National President of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, Abubakar Shatima, confirmed the development on Saturday. The development comes days after the refinery offered nationwide logistics for petrol and diesel distribution. The refinery said it also acquired 4,000 new compressed natural gas-powered tankers to enhance its fuel distribution capacity across the country. In the meantime, we understand that the spokesperson for the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Femi Shoneye, has resigned. A statement personally issued by Shoneye on Saturday said his resignation was to allow him focus on personal businesses. According to Shoneye, the move would allow him to spend more time with his family and focus on personal matters that now demand his closer attention. Shoneye also expressed appreciation to his colleagues for their support throughout his 20-month tenure. Now I'll tell you that the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has assured traders at the popular Akpo Mechanic Village within the capital of the administration's commitment to relocate them to their permanent site at the Wassa area of the capital. The minister, during a crucial meeting with the traders, said the administration is committed to fulfilling the promise made to the traders since 2011. Wike also commended them for the support of the current administration and urged them to continue to cooperate and collaborate with government.
So me and not be that kind of politician. Where people they talk say this politician they be want you, I'm not there for that one. Anything I say I go do, I go do it. If I don't go do it, I don't go do it. what do we talk, what we do? We don't say one as on our request and as on our talk on the quote. I know that there are time 2011, 20 this, 20 this. Anything happen every day, 20 this, 20 that. When I say anything, on behalf of the president, I want to tell and I say, we will now start to fulfill our own promise.
But I'll tell you about a fraud alert. The Nigeria Customs Service is warning the public about a rise in online scams falsely linked to its recruitment and auction processes. At a briefing in Abuja on Friday, NCS's spokesperson Abdullahi Miwada said criminals are impersonating senior customs officials on social media to deceive unsuspecting citizens. He stressed that the service does not carry out recruitment or auctions via social media and called such schemes criminal acts designed to tarnish the NCS's image. Miwada also reviewed the arrest of Okoli Okana Boniface, who allegedly posed as an aide to First Lady Oluremi Tinubu to manipulate the process. He urged Nigerians to verify all information through official channels and reaffirmed the agency's zero-tolerance stance on fraud. Let's talk health now, as Nigeria prepares to join the rest of the world to mark the International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking. Stakeholders are calling for a shift from crackdowns to prevention, with strong emphasis on community-led action. This is as Nigeria's National Drug Law Enforcement Agency and the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime unveiled activities to mark the 2025 Global Day scheduled for June 26. The Central's correspondent, Edong Joseph, tells us more.
Drug abuse remains one of Nigeria's most troubling public health challenges, attributed to be responsible for violent crimes like armed robbery and kidnapping. Many say it is robbing the nation of its youthful population. While enforcement measures such as arrest and seizures are already in place, experts say that the war against illicit drug abuse cannot be won through these efforts alone.
Together, these interconnected crimes are part of a vicious circles that entrench poverty, exploitation, institutional weakness, and addiction. Stopping drug trafficking requires long-term coordinated action to address supply and demand and prevent organized criminal groups from exploiting vulnerabilities.
With Nigeria's national drug use prevalence at 14.4%, 3 times the global average, the 2025 International Day Against Drug Abuse underscores the urgent need for a united approach to prevention.
As we enter another United Nations year focused on prevention, it is vital to stress that the responsibility of shielding our citizens from harmful substances does not rest solely on the shoulders of NDLEA.
Most critically, we must involve the sub-nationals. The state governments must be actively involved in drug control efforts, working with NDLEA and other relevant entities to ensure the availability of evidence-based preventions and treatment programs in their states.
While the NDLEA says it will intensify efforts in the fight against drug abuse by supporting families and communities in raising awareness and promoting prevention, partners like the UNODC have pledged continued support to strengthen law enforcement capacity and enhance preventive interventions. In Abuja for News Central, I am Edong Joseph.
Coming up on the news, security forces fire shots to break up protests in Libya's capital, Tripoli. We'll bring you details of this and the rest of the stories in a bit. Don't go away. From other parts of Africa, we tell you that tensions flared in the Libyan capital, Tripoli, as security forces fired into the air to disperse anti-government protesters. The crowd had been marching towards the headquarters of the Libyan Government of National Unity, voicing anger over corruption, worsening living conditions, and political deadlock. Demonstrators were reportedly chanting against both Prime Minister Abdulhamid Dbeibah and the broader political class, demanding fresh elections and accountability. No injuries were immediately reported, but then footage shared online showed security units blocking roads and pushing back demonstrators as tensions escalated. In the Horn of Africa, families of Kenyans killed during the 2024 mass protests are urging police and politicians to allow a peaceful memorial, a march next week in Nairobi. The demonstration will mark 1 year since youth-led rallies against tax hikes and corruption erupted into violence, peaking on June 25 when protesters stormed Parliament and were met with live fire. Rights groups say at least 60 people were killed and many still missing. Lawyer Njanja Mena, speaking for the victims' families, called on authorities not to deploy goons or disrupt the march. As South Africa gears up to host the G20 summit later this year, it is placing tourism in the spotlight, starting with the first ever Africa Glamping Expo held at the Nasrec Expo Center in Johannesburg. News Central's Bongani Siziba reports.
Under the theme Reimagining Innovation and Regenerative Tourism, this groundbreaking event brings together top minds and industry leaders in glamping and ecotourism, showcasing the future of sustainable experience-driven travel.
Most importantly, it's about what glamping is also, about in terms of, conservation, in terms of ecotourism, in terms of taking less, from the environment. So there's a huge uptake as we see a lot of people that are wanting to travel responsibly. We have people, eco-conscious people who are aware of what the planet is going through.
The Expo positions South Africa at the forefront of Africa's tourism revival, encouraging cross-border collaborations and attracting fresh investment to the continent.
Business events are important in Gauteng because they bring new money into the destination, and that new money can assist to grow the economy, but also assist in bringing jobs, new jobs, but also existing jobs. And when the businesses grow, they don't only grow for Gauteng, but they grow for the African continent and for the global citizen.
There is a huge gap with South African tourism, as majority of South Africans love to travel elsewhere, whereas we have beautiful nature, beautiful reserves.
Tourism is opening new pathways for economic growth, job creation and sustainable development, while promoting South African culture across the continent. But the industry still faces hurdles, with some businesses struggling to fully recover from the impact of COVID-19 pandemic.
The challenges that we face, especially after COVID, things haven't been easy. They've been going up and down, but COVID actually erased most of the things that we did. It was promising before COVID.
Despite the challenges, South African tourism sector is on a strong rebound in 2025. Both domestic and international visitor numbers are on the rise, and according to the World Travel and Tourism Council, the industry contribution to national GDP is projected to hit 8.9%. In Johannesburg, for News Central, Bongani Siziba.
Outside of Africa, emergency crews have been deployed to Ramat Gan, just outside Tel Aviv, after an Iranian missile struck the central Israeli town. Paramedics say 36 people were injured in the attack. The strike marks a dangerous escalation in the ongoing confrontation between Iran and Israel, with hostilities now reaching deeper into civilian areas. Footage from the scene shows buildings with shattered windows, debris-strewn streets, and medics attending to the wounded. Authorities say a full damage assessment is still underway as tensions continue to rise in the region.
7:45 in the morning, my daughter and I are in the safety room. Maybe 2-3 minutes after that, we heard the bomb. The building shook. The shot hurt the entrance to our parking area, and unfortunately that will take a long time till this building recovers.
כוחות מדע מתוגברים שהגיעו למקום ראו המון פצועים שיצאו מהבניינים, אפשר לומר 36 פצועים במצב בינוני, עוד אחד מצב קשה ועוד אחד בינוני והיה יותר קל. כמובן כשהגענו לפה בכוחות מתוגברים הזירה לא קלה, מספר פצועים כאלה, 36 פצועים, אחד מצב קשה, אחד בינוני ביתר קל בזירה הנוכחית.
Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump said that Iran has a maximum of 2 weeks to avoid possible U.S. airstrikes, signaling it could act sooner if diplomacy stalls. Speaking to reporters, Trump said he's waiting to see whether or not people come to their senses, but made clear he's not inclined to stop Israel's military campaign, which he said was waning. His remarks follow a statement hinting at a 2-week window for negotiations, sparking a flurry of European diplomacy. But on Friday, Trump dismissed those efforts, criticizing talks in Geneva between Iran and EU leaders.
Does Iran have 2 weeks, or could you strike before that? Are you essentially giving them a 2-week timeline?
I'm giving them a period of time. We're going to see what that period of time is, but I'm giving them a period of time, and I would say 2 weeks would be the maximum.
We're now going to break on the news. When we return, we'll bring you business and sports stories. Don't go away. We talk business now. According to the latest figures released by the National Bureau of Statistics, there's been a modest but welcome dip in inflation. Headline inflation is to 22.97% in May, down from 23.71% in April. And while the figures seem hopeful and could signal a potential shift in the country's economic trajectory, the Central Business Correspondent Chamun Dabeng asked if change reflects on the prices of goods and services. Here's a report.
In May 2025, Nigeria's inflation rate dropped for the second consecutive month, settling at 22.97%, down from 23.71% in April. On paper, that's progress, but for many Nigerians, the numbers don't tell the full story. In the open market, prices of everyday items like pepper, beans, and rice, amongst others, continue to rise.
Truth be told, I'm yet to see any change. The things I bought here is almost the same cost I bought them few months ago. So there isn't any change for now.
During our visit to the markets, we spoke with traders about the prices of everyday commodities and whether they've noticed any improvement in their business costs.
The price for this one 11,000, then the granola is 13,500. Beans, is you Oloyin abi Olotu? Olotu 5,500 for penta, then Oloyin 6,000 naira for the penta. For which one? Is it short one or be long one? Short one, 65,000. Then the long one, 75,000. Truth God, they know like they don't they change, it no be like it before. But up to now, the market is still there, they never come down where.
The tomato we buy 25,000 before. Now we buy 50,000, 100,000 safe. The only way we buy 50,000 now we buy 100,000 safe. More than that safe. We say not the team maybe small. The game where they see game before, now we know the same because the 10 costs.
I'm not seeing any changes at all. Things is getting worse every day by day. It gets worse every day. We are not seeing any changes at all. I'm not seeing any changes.
According to the federal government, the decline is real and is driven by a more stable naira, lower fuel prices, and a tighter monetary policy. But the benefits are slow to reach the average household, raising the question, why?
when we see inflation and price reduction, they are two different things. So if I go to the market today and they tell me that the price of a laptop last month was 50,000, this month is 40,000 naira, that is price reduction. That means you are in a deflationary environment. For Nigeria, it's inflation. The difference is the pace of increase that was recorded last month was slower than the pace of increase that was recorded in the prior month.
Experts caution that while the headline numbers are improving, core inflation and food prices remain stubbornly high, masking the relief some had hoped for. Until wages catch up and supply chains stabilize, many Nigerians may continue to feel the pinch, despite what the numbers say. Until it trickles down to household realities, optimism remains cautious at best. In Lagos for News Central, I am Chamun Dabeng.
In sports, Super Eagles players gathered in Ajegunle on Saturday for the 2025 Maracana Children's Football Fest, a grassroots event led by Leicester City midfielder Wilfred Ndidi, held at the new Maracana Stadium and supported by the Nathaniel Idowu Foundation. The festival featured stars like Victor Osimhen, William Troost Ekong, Victor Boniface, Rafael Onyedika, and Frank Onyeka. The event offered a unique platform for young players to showcase their talents and interact with national team icons. Boys and girls from local communities participated, gaining first-hand experience and mentorship from established professionals. The initiative reflects Ndidi's ongoing efforts to empower youth through sport while fostering community engagement in one of Lagos's most football-passionate neighborhoods.
I feel like for the past 2 years there have been much improvement in things we do. We try to do every year, December or in June. So I feel very exciting, you know, like it's very exciting, and I'm excited about this project, and the smiles on the faces of the kids is like, it amazes me, you know, like it's something that they're looking forward to, like, you know, so I feel very excited.
I think the two things that go from here is that, number one, we are demonstrating that multi-pitch facility is what we need in Nigeria, right? One single pitch for 500 children is not going to work. But we have 19 pitches here and we accommodated 3,000 children, no problem. And you didn't feel it. They had finished playing by the time, you know, we were down playing the other games. So the second thing is that there are many ways the football players can give back. You know, it's not just only to play football for Nigeria. They can participate in all this type of social events, and you know, they come in here. There's no, you know, hairs or anything. You see them mixing with the children.
And that's about this hour on the news. But then we look at our top stories before we go. 12 people have been reportedly killed as female suicide bomber detonated IED at a food joint in Borno State. Dangote Refinery has increased petrol ex-depot price to 880 naira per litre. We also told you that President Trump gives Tehran 2 weeks ultimatum to avoid U.S. strikes. Don't forget to send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. You can also follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. Also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, GoTV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avro TV, including YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Likon Onobanjo.